So we're back at Nordic Gaming. We're now behind the scenes, and I'm here with Jory, one of the guys who worked mainly on sound on Telltale's The Walking Dead. So compared to your action game, what's the most important part in making sure the sound side's right in an adventure game?
Well, to me, it's about the context, making sure that nothing feels like it's recorded in a studio, that everything feels natural and real, so that we can get very natural feeling performances from the actors and people really believe it. So I go to great lengths to get a lot of consistency between from one line to the next, as well as from one room to the next or one character to the next.
So without going into a lot of technical details, how do you make sure that actually happens?
Hire good actors. That's usually the first step. Have a good sounding space. So I have a room that's designed specifically to sound really good. It's a fairly dead space, but it's not completely dead. I use a very high-end microphone and mic pre, and it's one that doesn't have a whole lot of settings. Neither one, the mic or the pre, have a lot of settings. So I'm able to reproduce something, anytime. So if Telltale or any other client came back 2 years later and said, "Okay, we need to pick up some dialogue," it would sound exactly the same as it did when the actor was there last. I also save the Pro Tools session that I record into, even though it doesn't matter to the game. Any settings I would have set up for that particular recording session will be saved in the session, and so EQs or compression, I can bring that back.
Full disclosure: some of the actors are actually sitting behind us, so I'm not sure he'd dare to say anything else.
No, actually, I'm a big. I love the actors, and I really protect them. So I feel it's part of my job is to make sure that whatever comes in from my studio has to make them look as good as possible, and they make me look good. So it's symbiotic for sure.
What was it like? What's the atmosphere of working at Telltale?
Fear, no. It's actually, well, because I don't actually work at Telltale, I run my own studio and they hire me to do all their voice production. It's very relaxed. I run a very relaxed world, very informal, no suits and ties. If anybody does, we cut them off. No. I feel that the best working environment is one where people feel really comfortable. So it's almost like being in your own living room. So it's not a really stuffy studio. It's very dark. All the walls are purple, really dark purple, my favorite color. You wouldn't have guessed, I'm sure. And so there's actually some toys and stuff around the room. Like there's a Totoro and a cat bus sitting on top of the speakers, and there's some rubber duckies on top of, like really big rubber duckies on top of some items around the room. And it's just, I make jokes. I usually find things in the session, either something somebody said that could be relatively harmless, or making some stupid geeky reference to something based on the lines in the game. Just things to keep it really lighthearted and moving, because if it starts getting stagnant, it becomes a hard job. But when we're all having fun, it's easy.
How do you make the perfect zombie sound?
I don't know. I haven't made any zombie sounds.
Oh man, could you make a zombie sound for us?
Actually, no. I didn't get involved with the actual sound design of the zombies. That was all done by the in-house audio team at Telltale. We recorded all the English, so all the characters who are not zombies were recorded at my studio. So Lee and Carly and everybody, Katja and Duck. That was those were interesting sessions because it's a 10-year-old kid playing a part. So that stuff was done at my place, and then the zombies, they actually, I think a lot of them were people working at Telltale would come in and into the studio they had there, and they had a lot of time that they could work with. And I've heard some stories about things they did, but I wasn't part of that.
All right, too bad. So what was it like working with the actors? Because there's been a lot of praise for the acting and the characters in The Walking Dead.
The actors are amazing. Almost every actor we work with is really amazing. A lot of them are people I've worked with for a long time now. We've done, I think with Telltale, it's around 75 titles in the last 9 years, about 500,000 lines of dialogue across all the games I've worked on in the last 9 years. And it's like family. You know, these are some of these are my close friends. I go out and hang out with them and get drinks, you know, sometimes. And, you know, when we finished up with The Walking Dead after the last day of recording Lee, we actually all got together for Thai food, which was cool because we'd never done anything like that before. So it's very family. You know, it's a lot of people I love to work with and just hang out with. So everything about that is great. They're all people I interact with on Facebook, you know, every single day, and they're my friends, and that's great. I love working with them. They're incredibly talented, very creative, and I'm constantly impressed, truly. And I love to brag about them too. It's like we made our actors cry. And it's not like we did something bad. We gave them incredibly good. I mean, the writing at Telltale is, to my opinion, second to none. And so the actors come in, they can do this incredible work with this great writing. And just preparing for the keynote, I was listening through some dialogue just to see what I might use in the keynote. And some of that was making me emotional. And I'm not even playing the game. I'm just listening to raw dialogue lines going, wow, I remember when we recorded that. That was really intense. So I'm constantly impressed.
Can you describe how the workflow looks? Are the actors all in the same place at the same time, or do they go in individually? And if they do, how do you keep that consistent? How do you keep them from reacting in the correct way, so to speak?
So the workflow is one actor at a time. We record one line at a time, and then we move on to the next line. The voice director is Julian Kwasniewski from Bay Area Sound, and he and I have been working together for a little over 14 years. And so we have a very tight relationship, and the two of us together actually created the workflow that we use. And we're constantly trying to push it further and create better ways, faster ways, more efficient ways, and get better performances. So basically, the process is a script comes in, it gets imported into a database. The scripts for recording are generated out of the database and then loaded onto iPads. There's two different versions of the script. We have a talent version and a director version. And the only real difference between them is the director version tends to have a little more stuff on the screen, things that the actors don't really need to see, such as a place to circle, you know, whether you want A, B, or C take, you know, so we can keep track. In Pro Tools, I record one file for every line of dialogue. So at the end of the day, if we've recorded 500 lines, there's 500 files. I've then written some custom software that takes the output from the database and creates a renamer that will rename all the files we recorded that day and adds extra information that we need for the mastering process so we can reorganize files really quickly. Those files then get sent out to an editor along with the PDF that results from the director's notes. And though they go out, editor basically has to look through and go, okay, they wanted on file 1, take B, slice, clean it up, save, move on to the next one, deliver them all in, and we can basically toss them into the game almost immediately. It's pretty fast. We usually can turn around today's dialogue within the next 2 days.
What's the most difficult project? You've been working, as you said, 75 titles over the years. What's the most difficult project you've ever worked on?
Probably The Walking Dead, because keeping that context is really complicated. We've gone from, well, I started working with Telltale when they basically were founded. They're people I worked with at LucasArts as well. So we started off doing comedies, and I love comedy, and it's something I innately understand, and it's like, yes, this is awesome, we're having fun. And comedy is actually pretty easy to do when you understand comedy. To take that to the next step and do drama, when we did Jurassic Park, which I know pretty much everybody hated, from my perspective, the acting and the writing was actually really fantastic. The gameplay just wasn't fun. But that was the first time we did a drama that was really dynamic, and it was really hard because, you know, you might go from whispering to yelling to screaming, and it might be back and forth inside a particular set of dialogue trees. And The Walking Dead took that to the next step, and it was definitely more complicated, and we had to learn where the pitfalls were. So one of the things that changed as we worked through the season was the mastering process. So instead of mastering character by character, we started mastering location by location, and then reorganizing everything back into characters to deliver them to the game. So yeah, it was interesting challenges. It was tough. And then the schedule would get more compressed as the time went on, and so that introduces other interesting challenges as well. You know.
Looking at Telltale now, they've done everything from bone to Jurassic Park and Walking Dead, kind of, as you said, a very big difference between comedy. Sam and Max, of course, as well, from comedy to drama. Is there any drama-based project you would love to see Telltale do that you would get to do the dialogue for?
Well, that's I don't know. I'm actually more of a comedy person, so.
Comedy then.
I want to do personally more Monkey Island. I just don't know if that'll ever happen because I'm not privy to that information. So, bring back more Monkey, and I grew up on the adventure games, and that's really my type of game. I played all the Sierra Online games, for example, growing up. So I want to do more comedy personally, but the drama is really cool because it's very powerful, and people really get into it, and they get attached to the characters. Real characters they provide such meat for people to latch onto. And I think that's the real power of The Walking Dead, is that the characters are ordinary people that you would run into every day, and then they're put in these horrific no-win situations. And then the player has said, okay, guess what? You have to decide this option of awful or this option of awful. And it's like, And I found that really interesting and exciting because we would watch, gameplay videos that people had posted on YouTube and just be really enjoying the way people were taking the game. So, I like working on everything. I want more comedy personally because I like to laugh.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.